Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be doing an original tag created by Melinda at A Web of Stories. And this is the It Isn't That Bad book tag. So Melinda writes, there are a lot of things we are told we shouldn't do as readers. And honestly, those things really aren't bad. So there are 10 prompts with a bonus question at the end. So here we go. Number 1, do you dog ear books? No, I do not. I never dog ear pages. I feel almost like that's injuring the book. Number 2, do you annotate your books? Most definitely I do. But not all books. For instance, as I've been saying in several videos now, I'm rereading Ulysses right now, and I am most definitely annotating this as I go. I can just kind of give you an idea. I circle things, I write in margins, I underline things. And I don't know that these annotations would mean anything to anybody else. I have my old edition of Ulysses that I used for college and for graduate school, and besides the fact that the book is falling apart and pages are coming out of it, it's fully annotated, and most of my annotations from all those years ago mean almost nothing to me now. I don't know if these annotations will mean anything should I ever revisit this book again, but it seems to be helping me to concentrate as I read this really difficult book. But I also annotated books when I was teaching them. Because I would always have, a copy of the book that I was using as we were discussing it, and I would have things, highlighted, and not highlighted so much as sort of underlined or bracketed, and I would have my margin notes, mostly because they were things I wanted to make sure we would talk about in a discussion. So I'm just looking at this copy of Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried, which was a book that I taught in a contemporary fiction senior English class, and this is filled with my annotations, but they were notes. They were notes for things that I wanted to, emphasize as we were talking about the book in class. And virtually every page has something like that. So that's another kind of annotation, that I would do when I was teaching a work. And if I'm just reading, just a regular novel, I'm probably not annotating it unless I think that, I have a question about something or something that I'm going to be, discussing with somebody later. Then I certainly do annotate. Okay, number 3. Do you roll covers or break spines when you read? So I didn't know what rolling a cover meant, but Melinda did a demonstration on her video, and she said rolling cover is going like this, so that you can read just one page of the book, one, and hold it with one hand. I do not do this. I didn't know what the term meant, and no, I would say that's not something that I do. And then the second part of the question was, do you break spines when you read? I'm trying very hard not to. For instance, with this copy of Ulysses, trying really hard not to break this spine. My old Ulysses, the spine was so broken, and it's so old that whole sections of the book now are coming away from the spine. But I certainly have had probably a long history of breaking spines. I'm just looking at my copy of Hamlet that I used for many years in school, teaching, and it also has my annotations on practically every page. But the spine is definitely broken. Sections of the book have come loose from the spine. I've taped it back together many times, but this is why I try really hard now not to break spines, because the book falls apart. I mean, Hamlet is in many pieces here, and it makes me sad. So I think I've had a history of breaking spines, and I'm trying very hard not to do that. Number 4, do you listen to something while you read? Mostly no. I can't have music on. Certainly if there are words in it, I can't have that playing while I'm trying to read. Possibly classical music, anything without lyrics. If it's in the far background, I can still read. If there are people talking loudly or too close to me when I'm trying to read, that's also difficult for me. However, as I talked about in a recent video, there was a time when listening to an audiobook while actually reading the text was what broke me out finally of a terrible reading slump that I had gone into when I first stopped teaching, and kind of couldn't shut off the noise going on in my head, and sort of replaying a lot of the sort of horror stories that I was hearing from my friends and colleagues. And at that time, and that's the only time in my life, I actually had to listen to the book being read while I read the book. And that had happened once in my life. It lasted for a couple of months. And that's about it. So for the most part, no, I don't listen to anything while I read. Number 5, do you read in the bathroom? Not usually. Definitely not books. It's not something I do as a rule. Number 6, do you read in water, such as the bathtub, a pool, etc.? No, I do not. I've never tried to read in a pool. I take showers more than baths. I even have trouble reading close to water. I have trouble reading poolside or beach side. That's become difficult. So I would say a definite no. Number 7, do you DNF? Yes, but only recently. For most of my life, I think I was unable to just not finish a book that I had started. I would have to finish the book. Since I have been on BookTube and have been participating in so many reading events, I definitely have picked up the practice of, or not really the practice, but at least the ability to not finish a book. And on a few rare occasions, it has actually been very liberating. I talked about in my last weekly wrap-up how I just had to stop reading this Louis L'Amour novel that was just not happening for me. And then I found out that Louis L'Amour himself denied that he even wrote it. So he was so ashamed of it. So I didn't feel so guilty about not finishing it. But that was liberating to me. So this is something that I've just recently been able to entertain the possibility of not finishing a book that I had started. Number 8, do you ever read ahead or skip to the end of a book? No, I don't do that. But I will tell you that as a teacher of literature, I know that kids used to do it all the time. And sometimes they would tell other people what was going to happen in the end. And sometimes they would even write the ending in the front of the book so that, we would collect the books. The kids didn't own the books. The next kid who got that book would know how it ended before even starting to read. So it's a little pet peeve of mine. I do not read ahead or skip to the end of a book. Number 9, are you book polygamous? i.e., do you read more than one book at a time? Yes, most definitely. I mean, I think I always have, because as a teacher, I was always teaching 3 or 4 different books at a time. So that just required me to be reading a lot of different things at once. But since I have started this BookTube channel and I have been participating, each month in multiple events, I would say that I definitely, am always reading a couple of books. Sometimes I find, with all of the events that I'm reading too many things and I'm not getting anything done. I'm not getting anything finished. So I'm comfortable reading 2 books at once. I can read 3 at once, but that's pushing it. I don't like to go further than that, because then I'm just not making any progress with anything. Number 10, do you own more books than bookshelf space? Most definitely. I have a room upstairs that is devoted to my library, and most shelves are actually doubled up. I have 2 rows of books on every shelf because I just don't have the shelf space. And I have 3 shelves down here, and they're filled to the brim. And I have piles of books in many of the rooms of my house, and I have boxes upon boxes of books in my basement, way more than I will ever have shelf space for. And I donate books all the time. I'm always dropping off multiple bags full of books at my local library for their book sales. I do this on a regular basis, and I mean 4 and 5 and 6 bags of books at a time. I can't get my shelves clear. I can't find enough space for my books. Okay, bonus question. Do you ever take a book without leaving a book at a little free library? I've never taken a book from a little free library, but I donate to them all the time. We have one here where I live in our little complex here, and I keep it stocked. I'm always putting books in there. I've never taken a book out, but we have them all over town. It's a very popular thing where I live. Every block or so you find another little library, and I put books in them. I've never taken anything out. So taking out without putting in, absolutely not. So that's it. That was the tag. So if you are watching this and this is something that you would like to do, I invite you to do it. Please consider yourself tagged. But I am going to tag some people as well. I'm tagging Renee at Beyond Books. I'm tagging Dee at Through the Pages with Dee. Gavin at Genre Books, James at Quaint and Curious Volumes, Josh at Joshua Crebo Reads, Stuart Griffin, Debs at Rayner Reads Stuff, Ellen at Ellen Made Book Club, Nikki at My Messy Bookshelf, and Gina at Library Mouse Gina. So that's it for Tag Tuesday. As always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.